Hi team, this is George. I want to go over the IRB full review application form. This is one that I'm going to be using as an example. This is an actual form that I filled out just a couple days ago. So let's look at the form you're going to be filling out. Notice it's going to be the exact same form. That was just on a fillable form, where this is on a Word document. So procedures to identify and mitigate risk to human subjects. And then it gives us, okay, what is your source of information? So the sources, who will make the contact, that's just primary investigator, so that would be your name. And then what is the content of your invitation for participation? If you look over here, recruitment of provide a copy of the script flyer used to recruit participants, and that is generally done in a attachment here, and it's just like I wrote here, hello, welcome to HRD 550, with that in mind. So it's just how you're going to invite them to participate. It doesn't have to be anything lengthy or anything else. You can simply write email student or email potential participants stating, and then just one or two sentences. You're invited to participate in study X. This is what it consists of. This is how long it will last. So something that simple. You just have to tell them how you're going to invite, so there's no coercion or things like that. As we saw in things like the Stanford prison experiment, people have to know what they're getting into. And protection of rights, personal relationship, potential participants. Will participants be provided any compensation? All that is just typical kind of stuff. And then the big part here is consent. Consent. And even here, who will discuss informed consent documents with potential participant? You could just say primary investigator will discuss. Primary investigator has the CITI certification and will ensure that all guidelines are followed. You could do something to that point as well. And you could see over here where Dr. Hanshaw and Dr. Helm-Stevens, familiar with protocols ensuring human subject protection, and then we talk about the city certificate. So that was, exactly what I said in a couple different words. And then list and explain each step, gain participants' interest in the research through introductory invitation, and provide information related risks, all that good stuff. And then with electronic copy of the informed consent if they consent. And then let's see here. Data retention and storage, that's just where you're going to keep it, how are you going to keep it. If it's electronic data, keep it in a USB drive locked up. If it's papers, just keep them in a locked file cabinet, something like that. And your responses can be that simple as well. Risk for physical discomfort. There's really not going to be any risk for physical discomfort with any of these, but I shouldn't say any risk, there's always a risk, but it's very slight, and you can state that as well. Where is that on this one? How will researcher respond to evidence of physical discomfort? Through informed consent, encouraging questions, and letting participants know that they do not have to answer any questions they choose and may stop participation at any time with no consequence. Because just because our experiments aren't going to be physically taxing, or we think that they're going to cause any issues, we have to pull back from our perspective and look from a perspective of somebody could get hurt, and what we're going to do if there is discomfort felt. And here we give them a resource to mytherapycouch.com if there is any discomfort and they feel that they need to chat with someone about it, because you don't want to be the primary investigator and the person they come to, because that's a conflict of interest. Okay, and then we get our research methods. Treatment, control, including evidence of safety of participants, qualitative studies. This one, a lot of people make this a lot harder than what it is. The hypothesis, so let me just get to the part that is right there. Identify data collection intervals. So data analysis procedures, data collection instruments. So are you going to be using surveys? What are you going to do? That was asked up here. And then describe your data analysis plan. In this case, we're going to use a t-test to check for statistical significant difference between the pre and the post scores, and Cohen's d to calculate the effect size of the difference between the pre and post. And the RPD just stands for Rapid Prototype Development Scores. That's what we're looking at, is what, in a nutshell. The video that I posted earlier from, I forget the woman's name, she's got the Australian accent, but she goes over exactly what tests you can use when and why. If anyone needs help figuring out the test, give me an email and we can do that together. But if you're comparing things, t-test is an outstanding way to go if you're just comparing a pre and a post score. We can get into more detail about that as well. That little video from Dr. Mike? I forget her name, I'm sorry. But she explains it very well. So if you just follow her steps and the conclusion you come up to, that's where it goes. And then explain the theory and concept. Data analysis. Steps qualitative to get more into rigor, because that's an area where sometimes their rigor lags, so you want to make sure that it's there. So you just tell them step by step what you're going to do, and that's this part for qualitative: conceptual framework, data analysis procedures. So if it's a qualitative study, just explain the steps that you're going to take and what you're going to do, and do it in English. You don't have to do it in experimental ease whatsoever. Data, like here's our data analysis for the qualitative part, because our study is going to be both quantitative, qualitative. They call it a mixed method. No qualitative software will be used. Common themes found with the survey responses and idea responses will be compared to the current literature. Surveys are the primary source of insight. So you can follow that same sort of process right there if you like. And then your research plan, approximate dates. So I hope this was helpful in figuring out how the type of stuff to put in the full IRB review. If anyone has any questions, please just let me know.